Hello everyone, and welcome to the TB Talk podcast. My name is Tyler Filosi, and I have the pleasure of speaking with my fellow classmates, Cecilia, Maya, Jordan, and Alex. Well, let's talk about TB. As a preface, we should first talk about what TB is. Tuberculosis, shorthand TB, is the leading cause of death among infectious diseases worldwide. TB is a disease caused by bacteria, known as Mycobacterium tuberculosis. This infectious disease primarily affects one's lungs, but can also damage other parts of the body. TB is also an airborne infectious disease. This means that any person infected with TB in the lungs or throat can potentially spread it to others simply by sneezing, coughing, or even talking to others within close proximity. However, tuberculosis can have different outcomes from exposure if you contract it from another person infected with it. The first outcome is known as latent TB. This means that the disease is inactive in your body. You will show no symptoms and will not be able to spread the infection to others. This can, however, develop into the second exposure outcome, known as active TB. This means the disease is currently active in your body. You may show symptoms such as coughing blood, loss of appetite, fever, fatigue, and chills. During an active case of tuberculosis, the person infected with the disease is also highly contagious and can spread the disease to other people. If you have tuberculosis and you do not properly treat it, the disease can be deadly. Tuberculosis is a treatable disease for those with an active case and can be cured by taking prescribed medicines over an extended period of time. TB is also a preventable disease due to the fact that vaccines have been developed to mitigate or stop the spread of it. However, tuberculosis remains a real threat to many underdeveloped nations. Our team hopes that this podcast will shed some light on a topic that isn't talked about much within the United States. Even though our country does not currently face the same risk of this deadly disease as other underdeveloped nations, we believe our insights and information can help guide others to a better understanding of the problem outside of our own borders. Throughout our podcast today, my classmates and I will be talking through some main topics about tuberculosis. These include educating our target population on the severity of TB, prevention of TB in India, and spreading awareness about this deadly disease. Let me hand it over to Alex for some more information.
As Tyler mentioned, tuberculosis is not talked about much in the United States because of its low prevalence and incidence rate. Currently, the United States has one of the lowest rates of TB in the world. It is very easy to get a TB test or vaccine in the US, which is not the case in some other places. However, in high-burden countries such as India, where 24% of all TB cases are found, the need to bring education and awareness is extremely important. The current incidence rate of TB in India is 193 out of 100,000 people. This is compared to the United States incidence rate of 2.7 out of 100,000 people. Because of the high incidence rate of TB in India, the Indian government, along with healthcare officials, have taken drastic steps to try and combat the ongoing fight of TB. Unfortunately, the incidence number of TB cases keeps rising despite the effort to try and contain it. That is why our main focus for today's podcast is to help bring awareness of the severity of TB and the continued fight to help decrease the number of TB cases, especially in undeveloped countries such as India. Now, I'm going to hand it over to Cecilia so that she can give you background information on tuberculosis.
Tuberculosis is a lot like other illnesses and ailments in that it can have a larger effect on people of lower socioeconomic statuses because they don't have as many resources. In a place like India, where there is such a large population, it can easily spread because people are living so close together. You can imagine seeing a picture where people are packed in a city. A cough, a sneeze, or even talking out loud can infect a lot of people. Not only does a larger population cause some issues, but according to the World Health Organization, people who do not receive the proper amount of nutrition are 3 times more likely to get tuberculosis. This is especially a problem in India. According to SOS Children's Villages, 68% of India's population lives on less than $2 a day. Can you imagine living on that little money every day? Think about the price of groceries, or even just making a single meal. Without the proper resources to buy healthy foods, or be able to live in an area where nutritious foods can be grown and produced, TB can infect more people. They aren't able to provide their body with the proper resources to fight off the infection. Tuberculosis has developed into many strains due to antibiotic-resistant bacteria. These resistant strains are called multi-drug-resistant TB, or MDR-TB. Not only does India have the largest number of TB cases in the world, but also the greatest number of these MDR cases. The main cause of this are people not completing the full dose of medicine. It's very important, not just for tuberculosis, but for other bacterial infections as well, to finish taking the antibiotics even after you feel better, because there could be some bacterium lingering in your body. People don't know that they're actually doing themselves and their community a disservice by not completing their antibiotics. In addition, many doctors prescribe antibiotics too often when they aren't needed. When healthcare professionals don't know if the illness is a virus or bacteria, they may prescribe antibiotics just in case. If it is a bacteria, the patient will get better, but if it's a virus, the antibiotics won't do anything to help the patient. While this may seem like a good idea up front, this is in fact how antibiotic-resistant bacteria can develop, which causes problems for the future. New strains can develop, which makes it more difficult for scientists to create a vaccine that will work. Many times, in less developed countries, treatment isn't available at all. The first step in getting better is finding a healthcare professional that can help. If this isn't available, all of the other issues don't matter because this should be the main point of concern. All of these issues arise in lower socioeconomic groups, which causes a vicious cycle. First, a person being more compromised to tuberculosis, then being exposed and getting sick, then not having treatment, and finally passing it around to others in their community, which repeats the cycle through again. A little bit later, we will be discussing the vaccination process and some solutions we propose for how to help India deal with this tuberculosis epidemic. And now, we'll hear from Jordan about other information about tuberculosis.
The TB burden in India is among one of the most detrimental to the overall quality of life in the world. There are many factors that contribute to this, including a high poverty rate, poor resource adequacy, lack of education, and low healthcare quality. Because so many Indians live below the poverty line, they are at a much higher risk of becoming seriously ill from tuberculosis. It is very difficult for them to receive the proper health care with their personal resources. In high-burden countries such as India, vaccines are administered to the public. More specifically, the BCG vaccine is given to most infants in India, according to tbfacts.org. Unfortunately, one of the limitations of the vaccine is that while the vaccine is effective in reducing complications in children, there is little evidence that it protects against adult pulmonary TB. According to the CDC, the BCG vaccine does not lessen the risk of contracting the infection. Rather, it only lessens complications once infected. On the other hand, TB vaccines are very rare in the United States. This is due to the fact that tuberculosis is not a prominent disease in the U.S., and since the U.S. is a highly developed country, we have a very efficient resource distribution process that allows for near eradication of the illness. Next, let's hear from Maya regarding some possible solutions to this devastating illness.
Although TB no longer poses a threat to public health in the United States, it still poses a very serious threat in India, which is a developing country with a developing healthcare system. There are a few solutions to this problem. The first being improved education about TB, followed by vaccinations for children in high-risk populations, better access to treatment, and the monitoring of TB drug regimens. The CDC has played a crucial role in helping to decrease the burden of TB in India and other high-burden countries. They have greatly improved the education of healthcare workers on topics such as treatment, airflow in hospitals, protective medical gear, and lab testing. This, of course, improves the information being provided to the public. The CDC also helps to provide better access to testing and treatment of MDR-TB in the private and public sectors in India. Another way this burden can be decreased is by administering the BCG vaccine to all children of lower socioeconomic statuses, because they are a large part of the high-risk population. However, the most effective solution by far would be to monitor the treatment regimens of all TB patients. This would not only immensely decrease the amount of MDR-TB cases caused by infected patients not finishing their antibiotics, but also prevent the disease from continuing to mutate into other strains. The Indian government has also set up its own program, the Revised National TB Control Program, to try to eradicate TB. However, it has not always been the most successful. One major benefit of this program is that it provides free diagnosis and treatment for TB patients. This is especially beneficial for the disproportionately affected lower socioeconomic classes in India. The RNTCP was created in 1997. This program didn't even cover all regions of the country until almost 10 years later in 2006. The original goals of this program were to have a treatment success rate of 85% for new cases and to detect around 70% of new cases as well. In 2006, the program was improved and renamed the RNTCP2. These improvements included treatment and detection of cases of TB and HIV and of MDR-TB. In 2020, this program was renamed once again to the National Treatment Elimination Program. The main goal of this program in 2021 is to completely eradicate TB in India by 2025. Now back to Tyler.
One of the first steps to solving any problem is simply to be aware of the situation. We hope that our podcast today has helped you to gain more knowledge about TB, where it has been taking a toll on our world, and how to prevent or treat this disease. TB continues to be a problem outside the United States, and being able to inform our listeners about the problem and solutions is a great step towards solving this problem. We ask that you spread awareness and your knowledge about the situation with friends, family, and colleagues. If we are able to understand the problem and solutions to stopping tuberculosis, then together we have a greater chance at achieving an end to this disease. Thank you so much for listening. This has been TB Talk. Have a great day.